Okay. So, hello and welcome back to another episode of Bedlam Beyond Mental Illness. We do have a logo, but I just keep forgetting to make it onto StreamYard. But it's really cool looking when I get it there. I am your host, Randi-lee, with my beautiful friend here, Renata Carmen.
Hello.
And this time, so this is episode 3 now. And if you have watched the previous 2, which I hope so, and if you haven't, welcome and watch them. But last 2, Renata did all of the research. She's so much better at it than I am, seriously. But this time, so we get her reactions this time. All right, we are gonna get started. I have some little tiny notes there. All right, so we're talking about bipolar. And so first, where did I get the info? I got the info from History of Bipolar Disorder, Psych Central, Bipolar Depression, Symptoms, Diagnosis, and Treatment, Healthline.com, History of Bipolar, WebMD, and History of Bipolar, it dates back to antiquity, psychcom.net. So there you go. Now, let's do it. Okay, so what is bipolar? First, just to give you a little brief in case you don't know what it is. The National Institute of Health reports, first off, they report that 4.4% of U.S. adults have bipolar at some time in their lives.
Any Canadian stats, or was that hard to find?
Oh, they don't look very hard.
Okay. Fair enough.
Told you you're better at it than I am.
No, it's American stats are often more accessible.
They definitely are, but yeah, you are better at it than I am. Take the compliment. Causes are unknown at this time, but they think maybe differences in brain structure, family history, and genes. So the definition, I got that. Bipolar disorder, formerly called manic depression, we'll get into that too, is a mental health condition that causes extreme mood swings that include emotional highs like mania or hypomania and lows like depression. That's from the Mayo Clinic. All right. So currently we are living in the world of DSM-5, and we're going to talk a bit about the DSM. And as I was doing this research, it dawned on me that we should do an episode on the history of the DSM.
The DSM?
Yeah.
Sure.
You should write that down before we forget again. Because I totally forgot to write it down while I thought of it before.
Right.
So for those that don't know what the DSM is, it is the diagnostical
statistical manual.
There we go. Yeah, diagnostical statistical manual. Basically, your mental health Bible. Like, this is how we diagnose you based on everything in these books.
Many GPs will have that on their desk, and they will pull it open if you throw something at them that they are uncomfortable with. Or uncertain of.
Yeah. So DSM-5 means we are on version 5 of it. So in this version that we are living in currently, there are 3 different diagnoses for bipolar. Bipolar 1, having 1 or more episodes of mania lasting for at least 7 days, and a depressive episode may or may not occur. Bipolar 2, having depressive episodes alternating with somewhat manic episodes, but not full manic episodes.
Interesting.
And then, and I'm totally going to butcher this, cyclothymic.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah. Dysthymia is that like low grade chronic depression. So cyclothymic disorder.
Excellent. Switching between depressive and manic states for at least 2 years with periods of normal mood lasting less than 8 weeks. Did you know, I don't know if I ever told you, but when I was going through therapy the first time, she said that I could have maybe had bipolar. We didn't go down that
like one road? Of the one or the two.
Yeah. I think
the cyclothymic.
I think the cyclothymic one, the like switching one, but like also lower, like the lower one.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I just didn't pursue it. I don't know. I just didn't. I was there to talk about other stuff. But
during the pandemic, I was tentatively diagnosed with bipolar 2. However, after like further discussion with the psychiatrist and it wasn't a fit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it probably wouldn't have been a fit because later when I did go talk to the we did go down the like what do you have in autism, right? So
Yeah.
and that could be very
Right?
similar. So,
exactly the
yeah.
similarities and then the fine line it seems between them.
Right between everything.
Mhm.
And that's what's so hard about mental illness or I mean developmental disabilities because autism technically is that category. But there's such a fine line between everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And different things
Yeah.
will emulate others.
Exactly.
Well,
But
same- yeah.
yeah, so she was like, maybe, but we didn't pursue it. And then later when I was talking a few years later, I was talking about something else. And so yeah, we ended on autism. So that might be of where we ended anyways, if had we pursued it the first time. All right. So now we're gonna go back in time. Back in time. We should have some cool music to go back in time. That would be cool. Anyways, we're going back to ancient Greece and ancient Rome. So BCE time. Plato, who was around from 428 to about 348 BC, was an Athenian philosopher. We've probably mostly all heard of Plato at some point. He delved into the concept of mania and described two types in his writing. One involving a mental strain that arises from a bodily cause or origin, and the other being divine or inspired.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So way back then, they were like, there's something, like some people are really going.
And we have to explain it with God and religion.
Or bodily cause,
Mhm,
right? So
mhm.
bodily cause or God, yeah, way back then. Later on, so fast forward maybe about 30, 50 years, so around 460 to 337 BC, we have the philosopher and physician. Guess who?
Oh, is it our friend?
It's our friend, Hippocrates. He comes up a lot. That's why we had to do that last episode.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about what Hippocrates thought of things, go back to episode 2 because we talk about the 4 humors, and that is his philosophy, which comes up pretty much in almost every mental illness. Yeah. Okay, so he was the first to describe differences in extreme moods. So these were melancholia, depression, and mania. And we kind of already talked about this because of the biles and stuff that you did, but we had the melis, which was black, and kali meant bile, so it was black bile is where we're talking. So go back to the other episode if you want to learn more about black bile, because we're not going to do it now. We already did it. But mania, on the other hand, was the yellow bile. To put them in the context of like a personality state, we can also look at them as different temperaments, which you did mention back then in that episode.
Right.
Fast forward again to 1st century now. And I'm going to put this name on the screen because don't know how to say it entirely. So Greek physician, I'm going to try for those that can't see the screen, for those that are listening. Greek physician Artaeus of Cappadocia.
I mean, I say that's great. That's a good pronunciation.
Excellent. He is credited with being the first to express the concept of a mood spectrum, with these extreme moods on each end.
Very interesting.
He was also the first to determine that melancholia and mania were associated with a problem in the brain.
Wow.
Right?
How did he do that?
1st century. And he's like, no, it's not God or demons. It's up here. That's a pretty big thing, actually.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. All right. And then we have another name that I'm going to throw up there that I can't say. Right? No, he's a Roman physician. Callius Aurelianus. Yeah.
I'm gonna look all these up just so I can say them next time.
Right. I should have clicked on the little listen button.
Yeah.
They usually have that, right? So he discussed 2 kinds of mania, which he attributed to the philosopher Plato, mania and melancholia. See a theme there. Everybody's relating it to those 2. But he discussed them separately and not part of a single condition. So you either had mania or you had melancholia. Those didn't go together in his world. The ancient Greeks and Romans discovered that using lithium salts in baths calmed people.
Shut up.
Right? What? And lifted the spirits of depressed people. I don't know.
Wow.
But then it took, we'll get to how long it took to actually start using lithium.
Yeah.
But we're in first to fifth century here, and they're already going, yeah, lithium baths, those are working.
I so wonder how the hell they figured that out.
That I have no idea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was common during this time for people across the globe to be executed for having bipolar disorder and other mental conditions.
Nice, great.
Yeah, we know about that.
Yeah.
As the study of medicine advanced, strict religious dogma stated that these people were possessed by demons.
Of course. Yep.
Right? Yep. We should do the witch trials. I know it's not exactly on topic, but I feel like a lot of them were executed because they had a mental illness.
They were different.
And then they were told they were witches.
I think that we should look into that.
We should.
Write it down.
Write it down. Put it on the notes. Okay. Now we're going to fast forward a whole bunch again. So there was a pretty big block of time here where there was nothing talked about. 1621. Robert Burton wrote the book The Anatomy of Melancholy, which addressed the issue of treating melancholy, non-specific depression, using music and dance.
What?
Right? That was a fun one. So, and I mean, when I was reading it and I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, like when I'm feeling mood, I put on a good song and you start.
Certainly, right? Certainly there's a.
Yeah, you're releasing releasing your dopamine. So, yeah. And then later in that century, one more name that I'm going to put up because I don't know if I can say it. Let me try though. Theophilus Bonnet.
What's the Sepulchretum?
So that is the book that he published. And he was around from 1620 to 1689. So that was the book that he published from his experience performing 3,000 autopsies. He linked mania and melancholy in a condition called manico-melancholicus. So the two different conditions were finally linked as being one.
Do we know how he linked to them? Just from his study of the brains of those who...
That's what it read like, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. These are different people that maybe eventually we'll look more into, but from the quick look, it was from doing all of these autopsies, and somehow he figured out that they were actually linked. There wasn't, I don't know, maybe like there wasn't this one piece of the brain doing that, and that one piece there was like multiple.
You probably
things.
saw a lot of commonalities in a lot of the brains.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I thought that was really kind of neat.
Very groovy.
That finally somebody was like, these are together. All right, we're gonna fast forward about 230 years now, go into 1851. French psychiatrist Jean-Pierre Felleret described folie circulaire, which translates to circular insanity. A condition that was a cycle of depression and mania and time in between the two states. The article that he wrote, it details that people were switched through the depression and manic excitement, and it is considered to be the first documented diagnosis of bipolar.
Wow, man.
So 1851 was finally when it was like, yeah, bipolar is a thing. Didn't call it bipolar. They called it the folie circulaire. I don't actually speak French, guys.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's what I was thinking. 3 years after that, so 1854, French neurologist Jules Belarger described a condition that he named very similarly, folie à double forme.
Folie à double forme.
There you go. She said that.
That's French with an Italian accent. I did take languages up to university.
There you go. Yeah. I'm learning how to speak Spanish from Duolingo, but that's all I got. So anyways, this one, dual form insanity, in which mania and melancholia morphed into one another, but not necessarily with a period of normal mood between them. So that's the big difference between what Jean-Pierre thought compared to Jules. Is Jean-Pierre had that normal in between?
Okay, there's no normal.
And Jules, exactly. Jules was no normal.
Interesting.
Yeah. By the 1870s, mania and melancholia had changed from being general terms defining hyperactivity and lower than normal activity to mood-related disorders.
In the 1870s.
Yeah.
Okay.
That were clearly similar to what we know today as mania and depression. 1893, ish. We have Kraplin. I don't know if I said that right. It's German, that one. It probably is said completely differently, but Kraplin, I don't know. Now I'm just making stuff up, guys. Anyways, German psychiatrist. He called the conditions dementia praecox and manic depressive insanity, which is now known as schizophrenia and bipolar.
The schizophrenia is the dementia
praecox. Yeah.
Okay.
So dementia praecox is schizophrenia, and the manic depressive insanity is bipolar. They really like to call people with bipolar insane. Right? Like everybody keeps using something insanity. Yeah.
Yep.
He recognized, though, that biological causes of mental illness. So he's the first person to actually seriously study mental illness, as opposed to being like, well, it's in the brain, not really studying it, it's there, or yeah, it's the demons, it's God-given, whatever. He was the first to really go, let's look at this. There was widespread acceptance by the end of the 1800s of a cycling mood condition. 1903, Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung, there we go. I knew I was going to say it wrong. Even though I learned about him in university, I know exactly who he is. Yeah. Don't ask me to read stuff. He introduced the concept of a bipolar illness with hypomanic episodes, sometimes interspersed with depression, which did not involve a psychotic state. So he's like, they're not always insane. Like maybe they're not psychotic. Let's see. Another 20 years passes, so now we're in 1921. Wow, we're getting to about 103 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming up to now times. Kraplin again, and I'm so butchering that name. I should have put that one on the screen too. But anyways, remember, he was the one that recognized the biological cause of mental illness. So he's still studying it 20 years later. And he comes out with manic depressive insanity and paranoia. So he wrote this paper, which detailed the difference between manic depressive and praecox. Again, remember that schizophrenia. So He is now defining them more, defining the two differences. 30 more years. So 1952. Hey, my mom will be born soon.
Yeah.
Experts created the first diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders.
Look at that.
DSM-1. So 1952 is the DSM-1. Remember I told you we were going to come back to it? Here we are. So they were attempting to standardize and categorize mental illness. So it's finally being recognized that there are different mental illnesses. We got to put them into a book, just like they put colds and flus and cancers into a book. They're doing it with our mental illness now. So things like manic depressive insanity was in there. So the first edition of DSM defined 3 types. So these are what would have been similar to bipolar now, way back with the first DSM. Manic, depressed, and other. Those were the 3 types. The cycle of bipolar was classified under other.
That's interesting.
It would include severe mood swings that tend to come back, and manic. So the manic similar to DSM-5.
Okay. Do we know where the DSM, like where? Was it in North America? Or was it probably in European countries or?
That's a question we're going to answer when we do that episode.
Where? Okay.
that is a great question. And remember, if you guys ever have questions, throw them in the comments. We will answer them eventually. Okay, 5 more years, 1957. The subclassification of bipolar disorder was formulated by German psychiatrist Karl Leonard, who was the first to use the terms bipolar for those with mania and unipolar for those that experience depressive episodes.
Wow.
So our language for it has only been around, almost 50 years, right? 60 years-ish.
When was that?
57. So yeah, but almost 60 years then. 70. I should stop trying to math
more
in my
than
head.
60 years.
It's almost 70 years.
Yeah.
It would be 67 years.
Yes.
67 years. There, I mathed in my head. I wasn't giving up till I got there. 6 to 7 years. Remind me not to math in my head on live camera again.
But it was good. It worked.
I got there. All right. 10 more years. Well, actually 11 years. 1968. DSM-2.
That is the year of my birth.
Oh, you were born when they decided to revise it for the first time. That's exciting. And now everyone knows how old you are.
Yes.
That's okay. So manic depression in the DSM-2 now had 3 types, but now they were called manic, depressed, and circular.
Circular.
So remember how the first one had other?
Mm-hmm.
Other is changed to circular.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is defined as at least one attack of both a depressive episode and a manic episode. So they're coming around to this idea of bipolar. They're still not quite there yet, but they're getting there. All right, 2 more years later, we got 1970. Doctors tried treating patients with various types of medications, including barbiturates. Lithium gained research in the 50s and 60s, and it was approved by the FDA for bipolar in the 70s. So that was what? First century-ish? First to 5th century to 1970.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Wow.
Right? How crazy. Centuries passed before they actually were like, oh, let's try this lithium thing that the Greeks and Romans were doing, and it worked. Crazy. 1980, we're almost to my birth date. I'm in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. Bipolar definition evolved into how it is known today. Bipolar disorder is a group of conditions that affects a person's mood and how they interact with the world. But people with bipolar disorder may experience intense mood episodes that last days or weeks. That was a quote from. I don't write it down. From one of those 4 sources at the beginning.
It was a quote. Okay?
It was a quote from one of the 4 sources at the beginning. I cited my sources.
Yep.
We'll get better at this.
We will.
And the 3rd edition of DSM came out. And that was when bipolar got its name. So in the 1980, 3rd edition of DSM. So when was that first one? The first one was 1952.
Yeah.
So almost 30 years. It took them almost 30 years to give bipolar its own name in the DSM. It was now offering distinct criteria for manic and depressive episodes. It distinguished between unipolar and bipolar depression for the first time. And it focused on the polarity of mood. Any mania indicates bipolar disorder, though. Mm-hmm. So, work to be done. This is only version 3. And it was that revision that did away with the term mania to avoid calling people maniacs.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And that is how far bipolar has come. There has not been any giant changes since 1980.
Interestingly, having worked in the field of social services, I would say in the last 15 years is when regular sort of folk and even like local doctors still routinely used manic depression.
Yeah.
And they just started to use the bipolar 1 and 2, like relatively recently.
Which is pretty weird since it's been around since 1980. Right? Although I think it's the separation of them might be more similar, but I couldn't find that exact date. But yeah, not a lot of huge changes since the 1980s. So my question for this episode is, why do you think there has not been any major changes for bipolar since the 1980s? And that's 44 years.
Probably because there is a lot of dissenting opinions and ideas amongst many, many very intelligent, brilliant people. There are probably far too many variations and shades of bipolar. So they're continually trying to redefine the parameters of what is what.
True. And then trying to get people to agree on those parameters.
Yeah, they have to agree, right? All the smartest people have to agree on it.
Yeah. And the thing with mental illness, which we were talking about before we started going live, was they're all so similar. Like the lines for a lot of these things are so similar that how do you know which one is which? And how do you test for them, right? Like when you think about doctors and stuff, you think about the scientific method. Well, you can't really scientific method a lot of this because everyone is so unique and so different that how do you have a truly double blind like a control group and your other, like, because everybody is so different.
Yeah, and I'm not a diagnostician, but I know that's why they have come up with so many different questionnaires. And I'll ask you a series of 10 to 20 questions, and depending on how you answer those questions, they have to make their best guess. That's all it is, right? Yeah. Their best guess based on your responses.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Right. And I don't know, maybe in another 100 years, there'll be like a hardcore test or something. Who knows? Maybe it'll take 5 more centuries.
Maybe they'll be able to go like, I can see your brain. Like maybe they'll be able to see your brain. And
let me just put on my X-ray goggles here.
Yeah,
look at your brain.
We don't know.
That would be kind of cool. Speaking of X-ray goggles, completely off topic. We saw Despicable Me 4 on the weekend.
Was it good?
It's okay.
Oh,
like, I like the Despicable Me movies, but like I'm not in love with them.
Yeah, me either. Yeah.
Right. Adrian really likes them though, like the Minions.
Of course.
And at one point they put on and if you want to watch it, then plug your ears. It won't ruin the show, but this was my favorite part. They put on these X-ray goggles, and the one Minion looked at the other Minion, and they had a banana, like a full banana in their stomach. Because they're always running around going, "Oh, banana."
That's cute.
So that was my favorite part. Yeah, so that is Bipolar in a quick 26-minute nutshell.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I do believe Renata will be researching the next topic.
Do we know what the next topic is, or am I coming up with something?
You just come up with whatever you want.
Groovy.
Lots of
ideas.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. We have lists and lists of ideas. Be sure to tune in, of course, to our to the Rate or Die show that airs Wednesday mornings at 9:30. This coming Wednesday is going to be a pre-recorded episode because my kid is getting their wisdom teeth out. Still a super good episode, though. And if you do pose questions, I will come back to the comments and answer them at some point. But it just will not be live next week. Be sure to check out the merch store as well. We always do 10% of the proceeds back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. I have to make like a real ending to our thing so I can show videos and stuff again. And we should come up with merch for this show specific.
Okay.
We should. It'd be cool. And just have a good day.
Yes.
We need a catchphrase for this show.
We do.
The only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. It's the catchphrase from the Ride or Die show. It's a pretty good catchphrase.
Oh, is it? Okay. We'll come up with something.
Yeah. Right.
For now, bye-bye.
Bye. Hello. Thanks for joining us. Wait, what do you need?
Oh, we're not. Yeah, are we not done?
Well, somebody
asked me a question.
It looks like it.
Wait.
We're waiting. Do you have a question? Oh no, you missed most of well, not most of it. You missed all of it. But you should go back and watch it. We are doing fabulously. Thank you for asking. How are you doing? I'm going to assume that she's typing in. Wait a second.
Okay, yeah.
See, look at that. I don't actually have a Discord. No, I do. I do have a Discord.
I thought you did, yeah.
I do have a Discord. Yeah, we should make a Discord group. We're going to make a Discord group. Write it down.
I don't know what any of this means.
I know what it means. I don't know how to do it, but you know what? I have a kid that does.
Okay.
We're going to put him to work.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make a Discord group so we can all share.
Is it just another platform? What is
it's
Discord?
just another it's another platform.
I'm old, okay?
We will look into it and we will get back to you on the next episode with some Discord stuff because we have to create it. We do not currently have it created.
No, we do not. Oh.
But that's okay. Oh, here, write down her username.
Username.
Just find that one there.
Anna Hart.
Yeah.
With 2 T's.
Yeah. We're doing it. We're writing it down.
Okay.
And thank you.
Got it.
Oh, that was sweet. Look, she thinks we're awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. So we'll definitely, we'll figure out this whole Discord thing and we'll put it together. And yeah, go back. I know you just got home from work, but go back and watch the rest of the episode. It's super interesting. We talked about the history of bipolar, and it's crazy how far it has come, and crazy how long it took for things to happen, I feel
How
like.
far it's come and not come in some ways.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. But at least people aren't maniacs anymore.
Right.
Officially, anyways. There's
Well,
definitely some really
I'm a maniac on the dance floor.
Oh,
Is there a song? Is there a song?
I'm a maniac.
Yeah.
There totally is. I forgot that was a thing. I'm Randy. That's Renata. Yeah.
And we're
Yes.
maniacs on the dance floor.
We are. But yeah. Randy, Renata. Nice to meet you too. We absolutely love doing the show and chatting and learning. Anna. We could call her Anna.
Okay.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
But we are gonna run now because I do have to make dinner. Oh, I hate cooking.
As do I.
If anybody has some good, super easy recipes, you can share those too. Like, it doesn't have to just be about mental health. I could use some new recipes. She's already given me a whole bunch. So yeah, do that. I made zucchini boats yesterday
That's amazing.
with my giant zucchini from my garden. It was like this
Randy's
big.
a gardener.
I love my garden. It's the first year I've done zucchinis. But it was like this big. And I made these giant zucchini boats, and it was so good. I should have had you over for, well, no, because then you can't eat it because you're vegetarian. And I'd have to change the middle for you. Renata is a vegetarian, and I was about to say it was so good because I put the ground chicken in the middle. I'm like, wait, she's not gonna eat that. But I don't know. I'll have to change the middle for you.
Say that we can end the stream.
Yes, we will. I just was really excited about my zucchini because they were like literally ginormous, and I've never done them before, and it was super exciting to do them. And we're like, psh.
They were big.
Yeah, I have to actually check. I think there's probably a couple other ones I saw growing. So that'd be good. Maybe some raspberries on my bush. Anyways, we will catch you on Discord when we figure out how to do it. We're gonna put Lev to work.
Okay.
He might charge
Excellent.
us money though. We might have
It's
to
all
pay
right.
him.
We have to pay.
Yeah, we'll have to pay him.
Bye. Thank you.